All right, welcome to The Explainer. The IRS has just dropped the brand new retirement contribution limits for 2026, and we're going to break down exactly what this means for you and your money. If you're planning for the future, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this.
Okay, let's just jump right in with the big one. For 2026, the contribution limit for your workplace plan, that's your 401k, 403b, or TSP, is getting a full $1,000 boost. The new maximum is now $24,500. And it's not just the 401ks getting some love. The annual contribution limit for your IRAs, whether it's a traditional or a Roth, is also on the rise. It's jumping $500 to a new limit of $7,500.
Now, these numbers aren't pulled out of thin air. They're the official cost of living adjustments from the IRS. Basically, as inflation goes up, these limits are designed to make sure your savings power doesn't get left behind. It means you can sock away more money for retirement in a tax-smart way.
So, to really get a feel for the impact of these changes, let's put the old and new numbers right next to each other. Think of this next slide as your personal cheat sheet for 2026.
So take a look at this. You can see the main 401k and IRA limits going up, just like we talked about. But what you really want to pay attention to are the catch-up contributions. For those of us 50 and older. The 401k catch-up is now up to $8,000, and even the IRA catch-up got a little bump. And that catch-up contribution is just a fantastic tool. If you're 50 or over, it lets you really accelerate your savings as you get closer to retirement. But, and this is a big but, for 2026, there's a really interesting new wrinkle that completely changes the game for a very specific group of people.
Right, so thanks to something called the Secure 2.0 Act, the catch-up is no longer a one-size-fits-all deal. If you're between the ages of 60 and 63, you now get this special, supercharged catch-up limit. Instead of the standard $8,000, you can now put in an extra $11,250. That's a huge boost right when you're in the home stretch.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about what is, without a doubt, the single biggest, most important change coming in 2026, especially if you're a high-income earner.
So, a major new rule is officially kicking in. The real question is, does this thing actually affect you? Sometimes trying to figure out new IRS regulations can feel a little like this. You just hit a brick wall. But don't worry, we are going to make this super simple.
So at its core, this new Roth catch-up rule doesn't change how much you can contribute. What it changes is how you're allowed to contribute it. It's basically forcing some people's catch-up money to go into a post-tax or Roth account. Here is the crucial detail. This rule gets triggered if your FICA wages from the previous calendar year were more than $145,000. So if you cross that line in 2025, then in 2026, any catch-up contributions you make have to be Roth contributions. It's not optional. Okay, let's unpack the fine print here. The income test is based on your FICA wages. You can find that in box 3 of your W-2. Super important, this rule only affects your catch-up dollars, not your regular contributions. The trade-off is simple. You pay taxes on that money now, but then all your withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. And here's a key point for employers. If even one person at the company is subject to this rule, the entire plan must offer a Roth catch-up option to everybody. So it's not just about how much you can put in. It's also about whether you're allowed to contribute at all, and that often comes down to your income. This is especially true for IRAs. So let's take a look at the new income phase-out ranges for 2026. So if you have a retirement plan at work, like a 401k, your ability to deduct your traditional IRA contributions starts to, phase out once your income hits these new ranges. For single folks, that window is now between $81,000 and $91,000.
And it's a similar deal for Roth IRAs, but you'll notice the income thresholds are quite a bit higher here. For 2026, the amount you can contribute starts to shrink if you're a single filer making over $153,000, and it goes away completely once you hit $168,000.
Okay, I know that was a ton of numbers and rules. So what's the takeaway? What do you actually do with all this information? Let's boil it all down into a simple checklist to help you plan your next move. Here's your game plan. First, ask yourself, can I bump up my contributions to hit these new higher limits? If you're over 50, figure out which catch-up group you're in. And this is the big one. If you earned over $145,000 last year, you need to make sure your 401k is ready to handle Roth catch-up contributions. And finally, just double-check those IRA income ranges to make sure you're still good to go. So there you have it. The rules of the game have been updated for 2026. The limits are higher, and the strategies, especially for high earners over 50, have definitely shifted.
So, the question I'll leave you with is this. Now that you have all the new information, how are you going to adjust your plan to make the absolute most of your savings in 2026?